Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I am looking at Captain Victory #1. Alright, today I'm going to do something a little different. A couple weeks ago I was invited to be on the Jacked Kirby Podcast, and we got to discuss this book. We had a pretty long, wide-ranging conversation about comics in general and, our personal connection to growing up with comics and stuff. But we spent about 30 minutes talking about this specific issue. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to play the excerpt of us just discussing this issue while I just kind of flip through it. So where I usually just go page by page and discuss it, I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth. Just thought I'd try something a little different. Thought it'd be a good cross promotion with the guys of Jacked Kirby. I'll definitely be putting their information in the description of this episode. Go check out their podcast in general. They always have good guests on and good topics. Always Jack Kirby centric, of course. And definitely listen to the entire episode about Captain Victory #1, because we do talk about a lot more than just Captain Victory in that, and it was a lot of fun, and hopefully they have me back on again sometime. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull in the audio and just start flipping through the book.
Captain Victory, issue 1, right? So 1981.
Nice.
November 81? Is that the right year? The right month? I have it written down.
Yeah, I guess so. It just says #1.
Yeah, it says November,
Yeah.
November 1981. Yep.
Yep.
So the gist of this book, interesting history. Pacific Comics was going to be a new imprint, not an imprint, a publishing company.
Option, yeah.
Different than the big two, that was the big thing. In the 80s, there was a push because of the direct market. There was a push for more independent comics and independent comic companies, because now they had a place to sell them. You didn't have to be part of a newspaper syndicate to sell your comics. So in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there was that you could just be part of a syndicate and get your comics on the newsstand. So most of the comics that people saw were Archie Comics, DC, Marvel. There was a couple of other smaller prints like
Charlton and
like that, but those came and went. Obviously, the only ones that could really survive in that landscape were DC and Marvel, right? The big two, as we know. The advent of the direct market and the specialty comic shops and sci-fi comic shops, sci-fi bookshops, afforded a bunch of new creators, basically creators from the big two, to do their own stuff. Kind of what Image would do in the 90s, but this is a precursor to that. And Pacific Comics was one of those companies that were going to start up. And what they wanted to do was have Kirby draw and write their first book. One of their, I guess, their plan was to have one book a month. Right. Excuse me. And the books would be the initial books would come out bi-monthly. So every 2 months you'd get Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers, and then the between that was the Mike Grell book. I forget the name of it.
Star Slayers.
Something like that.
Some shit like
is that what it was?
Yeah, there's an ad in the back. Star Slayer.
Right. It's in there. Yeah, I just don't remember the name. And that was going to be the next one. So Mike Grell at the time he was a pretty, he just come off Warlord, right, from DC. And this was, I never read this book, but from the looks of it, it looks kind of like a similar thing. But
Lord War,
they just switched it up. So to get Kirby, what they did was, at this point in 1980, 81, he's working at Ruby Spears. He's doing concept designs. He's working in animation on a conceptual level, and he's making money finally, like in all his long comic book career. He's finally got a job where he doesn't have to pump out 30 fucking pages of a comic a month and so on and so forth. He's making good money, probably getting health benefits from these studios and whatnot. But they lure him back, and they're like, look, we want to launch this company, and we want to launch it with you involved, because obviously you're the king of comics, right? So the way they do that is knowing the shit that he had gone through with Marvel and DC and getting canceled and not owning his own creations. Even when he went back to Marvel, obviously, he didn't own any of the, even though he kept his creations separate for the Marvel universe, he didn't own them, right? So this was a way for him to retain ownership and full creative control of whatever he created. And he didn't have to do it on a monthly basis. So I think those things, plus the higher price of the comic. Now, these comics were going to be $1 each at the time, which was pretty, a good, probably double the price of a newsstand DC comic. I don't know what they were in 1980,
81?
but
Yeah, probably about
They're-
60
cents.
they're
cents. Yeah, 60 cents.
Right, something along those lines. So this is a little more expensive. It was going to be better paper, full gloss covers. They had a new coloring method. Steve Oliff did the colors for the first issue. I don't know anything about comic book coloring, so I don't know what was new about it as compared to other comics. But the paper was a little nicer, and so it cost a little more, and it allowed Kirby to kind of go a little, do what he wanted and be a little different and break some new ground here. Um, I enjoy this book. I have this 13 issues that they did, and with one special, I think I have maybe 9 of them or 10 of them. I don't have the full run. There's a couple that I don't have. To talk about really quick, this is at a time when a lot of people malign Kirby for his artwork, right?
Bullshit.
Everybody is constantly saying like, oh, when he gets to the 80s, he can't draw anymore and this and that. Now you could look at the DC stuff when he did the Superpowers books in 83, 84, 85, whenever that was. And yes, the artwork's a little wonky, right?
Maybe then, maybe.
Right. It still has glimpses of like Kirby coolness and weirdness in it, which I enjoy, but it's definitely not amongst his best
Yeah,
work.
and just seeing him draw those different characters.
Right, that's part of the fun.
Wonder
right.
Woman, Hawkman,
but it's definitely
Batman.
not his best work. Like Batman and Robin, the Joker. Like it's great to see him draw these characters. Red Tornado, but it's not his best work. And we've seen pencils from that stuff before. Theakston inks
fucked it up is what the word.
Right, they're very different, and the pencils I feel are a lot more
Kirby-esque,
detailed, and right, maybe Kirby-esque is a good word. So that could have been an issue at that point, like the inking, and maybe his skills were declining. I mean, he was an older man. They said he had eyesight issues and blah blah blah. But when you read Captain Victory, there is no indication that this is a guy on the decline, both in artwork and in story. So,
oh my god,
let's get into that a little bit, fellas. Daryl, what are your thoughts on the initial issue? We're gonna kind of keep it to the first issue because that's what we read, for this show. So,
well, I've known about the series for a long time, but I actually just picked it up sometime in the fall. I was at a show and I ran into it was like a $2 bin, but like buy so many and they're really $1, and I was able to get number 1, and then it's like 9 through 13 in the special. So I've got that big gap in the middle. Right. So all I've really read so far is the number 1. But I'd seen the interior pages before, like not the whole book, but like some of these big splashes and like just various Kirby things I look at. And I've always been blown away by it. So when I saw that number 1 for essentially $1, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely bringing this home. And so reading the story, I think it has the makings of being what should have been like some kind of like really good like animated classic, or like, I mean, it would make a good big budget movie today. They'd have to kind of modernize a few things, but like I think the storyline of
the worst part of it. It's the worst part of it, right?
But I think the storyline of these like 2 galactic species, and then of course their battle leads them to Earth, I think has a lot of potential. And then just the splash pages in this are just incredible to look at.
The stuff of legend, okay? Like this series might only be 13 issues, but the splash pages that have come out of this, people have seen them. They misdiagnose them or misidentified them as being something different. They
Yeah,
are.
this is from the New Gods, right? It's like, no, it's not. This is
Yeah.
from fucking
This is
1982.
such detail, such crazy fucking wild space odyssey nuttiness that it's kind of amazing to me that someone would have the gall to say like this is a good. If this guy's in decline, nobody's even ever reached maturity. You know what I mean? And that's the only way I could look at it
Right,
because
and Mike Royer is inking, so he's getting like
the
good.
faithful, the
Right, right.
faithfulness, but also it's like he's not self-correcting at this point. Like, somebody's not like making it look better than it is. Like he's giving you the raw, uncut, dope Kirby. Like this is like, you know, pure Kirby. And like I don't know if he did this. Like I don't know if you see splash pages like this in many of his works. I mean, the Demon is definitely one that is known for having like crazy splash pages, but like not. I mean, Jack would always throw a good splash page in there, or even like a one page, like a title opener or something.
Right.
But it was usually a very like specific thing that he was trying to do. The splash pages in this series are insane. Probably the most famous one is the invasion, the insecton invasion, where it's like 10 billion fucking insectin aliens like flying at the screen, and you're like, that's such a crazy image to me. And it's like he could have just stopped right there and been like, I'm done. Like, drop the pencil. I don't gotta fucking draw anything else. Fuck
But
you.
even story wise, like I
Cool.
haven't read all 13 issues, right?
Oh, you never read
Um,
them?
no, I don't have 13 of them. I only have like
Yeah,
9 or
but
10 of them, so I
people
can't.
at Tonga could help with that.
Man, I want to get them all. I want to get them and read them for real. I read the special. The special was like a Christmas special that came out. I think that was the last thing that ever came out of the Captain
Yeah,
Victory
yeah,
world. So I read that one a few years ago. I own that one. I own a couple of versions of the first. I have 2 copies of the first and the graphite edition
yeah.
from 2002 that they put out to raise some money. But I thought story-wise, it's the most straightforward and like uh comprehensible of a lot of his work. Because a lot of the stuff, look, as much as I love Kirby, like, and I love the Eternals, it's all over the place. Same thing with
Yeah.
the New Gods. Like,
Yeah.
it's you have to
And Silver Star.
right, you have to know Kirby. Right, that's a good point too. You have to know enough of Kirby and enough of his work to be able to sit down and read that stuff and appreciate it and enjoy it, I think. I don't think the layman can just pick up an issue of the New Gods and jump right in and follow along. Like maybe at this point, because we've been studying his work for this long, like we can, but I don't know if that's true for everybody. And that's not an indictment, and that doesn't mean like you shouldn't go pick it up. Like it's not saying that you can't, but I could see it being a little daunting maybe to somebody.
I can see
From
what.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, okay.
Oh, well, with New Gods, for instance, you're saying like that was just such a grand story. He was really trying to
Right.
tell over what four titles,
Right.
And even if you just concentrated on just the New Gods series, it's like he was still trying to cram such a big epic,
Right.
like
There's a lot
thing going on in that. But this is very straightforward. There's two, species basically. There's this like an insect group and a humanoid group, and they're at odds. But even the insect group, it's like they're trying to run away from the humanoid group. And even though they're going to like planets to destroy them to be their like home and hive,
right.
when they see Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers come in, they're like, let's get out of here.
They know they're in for it. Right.
And let's try to get away from them to where they won't follow us, and like, so you're almost having some empathy, like, well, they feel like chased out, like, but at the same time,
they do destroy planets though.
Yeah, they do go, but at the same time, they do go like hollow out the planet and just take it over.
I hate Godzilla too.
But from a storytelling point of view, so right away we jump right into the story. Like there isn't a lot of backstory or preamble. You get,
like mid attack, right?
Right,
like,
in pure Kirby fashion, you get thrust right into the action, right? And the Galactic Rangers, Captain Victory and his crew, they realize like there's a planet that is going to be that has been taken over by the insect Lady Lightning and her insectons.
Insectons.
So we don't get a lot of information about who and what they are, but throughout the story, you learn some things about them. You learn that Captain Victory himself is a survivor of a planet that these guys have already taken over and destroyed. So he has a personal stake into hunting them down throughout the galaxy and making sure they don't ruin other planets. You get the war aspect. I mean, to me, like I felt like I was reading an issue of the Losers in this, because there is a very military aspect of this book where Captain Victory has to make the decision to destroy the planet, and Clavis, his right hand man, the black fella, is like, you don't know how many of those creatures are in there that you're going to kill, and he's like, it doesn't matter. I have to do it because we can't let them live. Now, to me, like that's a decision, and that's a story aspect that comes from a guy who's been through war, like who's been in war and knows the toils that it takes on a human being, the decisions that must be made in order to do the quote unquote right thing. And I felt like the military aspect of the comic and the Captain Victory and the Rangers, and like when they kind of kick into battle, like to me, like it could have been tanks in France in 1944. It wouldn't have made a difference,
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I picked up on, like that military aspect of Kirby's kind of past, You get some crazy sci-fi elements here where Captain Victory has a host of clone bodies, and this is his 10th killing. He's been dead 10 times. Why the new bodies always have that terrible haircut, I don't know.
Somebody should have gave him a nice afro, maybe.
Just a buzz cut, like military, like a
long hair, 70s style,
Well, that's what he has. But
no, he doesn't. He has like a page boy,
right?
Fucking looks like the little Dutch boy painting guy.
You have the
He's got the same as Icarus.
Or Commandy, right?
Or Commandy.
Right.
Commandy got a little bit longer though.
It's a little longer, right?
Three fucking dopes,
It does have that little uptick at the bottom.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other cool things where it's like the Egghead, whatever his name is.
Egghead, yeah.
That thing's crazy.
A being of, I guess,
egg
like ESP, where he could see things into the future, and he could latch on to somebody and read their mind from distances, which is interesting. There's a bit where Captain Victory tells him, like, where he's the kid, Eggman says something along the lines of like, I don't want to have to deal with these computers and whatnot. He's like, we don't need the computers because we have you. Like you are like this kind of sonic being. I don't really know how to describe him. We only get introduced to him in this issue. I don't know where his story goes. But
he says to him, your job is to play with math, not mayhem.
Right.
What a great line,
we get introduced to Clavis. He's like the right-hand man. I don't know what you would call that, in a military sense, but he's the,
second in
first
command
officer or something.
Yeah, second in command, the Han Solo of
I think
crew.
It says somewhere in the book, but I don't remember. And you also notice that there's a lion-faced man. They never mention his name yet. They haven't talked about him yet, but he's there, and it's a guy working with Captain Victory whose face is obviously that of a cat.
Shmamandy.
So there's a lot of cool little things there. A lot of sci-fi elements. There's that helmet that he wears, which is basically like a command center that he wears as a helmet on his head, which I think is fucking cool. So anywhere he is on the ship, he could do the leadership role. The back of the book,
like the bridge.
Kind of,
is
right,
with
that he
him.
wears,
like
right,
like remember like a Star Trek, Captain Kirk, like I have the bridge, like what I mean, like he'd like turn it over to Spock when he had to go do some shit, like fuck a green bitch or whatever,
right?
And then like he'd be like, oh Spock, you got the bridge because I got to go get some punang,
right.
But it's like this is like the opposite of that, right? Like instead of having to go to a place on the ship, you take the ship with you.
He wears it, right?
It's kind of crazy. Also, a ridiculous Kirby head contraption.
Right. It's just just an
Known
excuse
for
basically to draw something insane, right?
That guy's gonna wear that on his fucking head all day. His shoulders will be dead. He'll be like fainted in an alley. In the middle of the ship, he'd be laying on the floor, fucking passed out, carrying around.
What else did you pick up on this book, guys?
Well, my favorite thing, like one of my favorite things about this whole series comes in the final 3 pages of this book. It's Kirby's known for doing these like companion additions, right? Like where he'll add character explanation, he'll add weapon explanation. In this case,
similar to the Losers or like the what's it called, the Sergeant Fury book.
Yep. But in this case, I love, he even does like the insignias, and there's one that I love. It's the orbital resistance insignia. It's like it's just like
the eye in the middle.
Yeah, the eye in the middle coming out of the ship. And I've loved this image forever. Like this was something I thought about maybe getting as a tattoo.
Right.
It's just like it's kind of cool in itself, but it also would have like a meaning to me. But yeah, I like it. There's so many little details in that last couple of pages.
Right. The weapons.
The weapons are fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? Like sun gun and magnetic mine thrower. And it's like ridiculous, the baby H bazooka. Like what the fuck? But every
bazooka that shoots hydrogen bombs.
Yeah, like, it's like subtle, very
just destroy the world.
I mean, these pages made me think it was like being developed as a cartoon almost.
Right.
Well, and considering the timeline and the fact that he's doing the Hanna-Barbera stuff, it very well could have started as like some sort of pitch.
Right.
But also, I will say it does predate that. Like when he was just doing comics, he would do shit like this. Like he'd be like, the guns of Nazi Germany, like 4 pages worth of handguns, different Nazi guns and grenades that they would use. So,
but at this time he is working for the studio. He is doing a lot of conceptual artwork and not only just design work, but even just ideas for concepts for cartoons and trying to get himself into motion pictures. So, like you said, Daryl, like this may have been something that was part of a bigger pitch, or might have been eventually part of a bigger pitch if Pacific didn't come to him. Like to me, the fact that you get that extra material at the end of the book that Mike mentioned, the weapons, the different insignias for the different galactic warriors. What is it called? Galactic
Rangers.
Rangers. Yeah, I couldn't think of them. The Galactic Rangers teams and whatnot, sub teams and all this stuff. Plus the list, he has the renderings of the different soldiers and their uniforms and whatnot. Like to me, that seems that this is not a guy who's just throwing this together willy-nilly. Like he's creating a whole world here. And in the first issue alone, you obviously get the gist of where the story's going, the push of the conflict that's going to happen. I mean, the issue ends with Lady Lightning finding a planet that they could inhabit, and it's modern day Earth, So that's how, and Captain Victory, they realize with Egghead's help that's where they're going to be. So they go through their light zoom or whatever they call it, the light. What is it called? The light. What is it called? Like they do in Star Wars, where they fly through space. What the fuck is that
hyperspace or
hyperspace. Whenever I couldn't think of the word. To get there ahead of them, and it ends with him on, I guess it's a Texas range, right? With a Texas Ranger or a cowboy with a gun to fucking Captain Victory's head, saying like, "Who are you? Like, why are you here?" And he's like, "Look, guys, this is something, just look at the sky." And this huge ship comes into view, which was hidden by some kind of, magic, not magic, but some kind of science that hid the ship.
Science!
And he's like,
so it's a light wave that is not seen on their planet.
Right. So they can't, human beings can't see this. It's kind of like that car in 007, that car with the light bends around it so it becomes
Oh yeah.
invisible, like it's, I guess, like that. And that's how it ends, with this ship kind of attacking in the hills of Texas or wherever they
Hmm.
are, and that's how the comic ends. So it really is a cliffhanger, because like,
And,
what's
and
happening now?
how could you fucking deny this? What's next? Don't miss Death Hive USA. Like that's the name of the next issue. You know what I mean?
Love
Death
it.
Hive USA. That sounds like right out of a fucking 50s drive-in. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like that's so
Uh-huh.
G'd up of a title that like I'm like, how do you not go right to issue 2? Like
Right. We're getting issue 2 now. Right.
yeah,
Right.
like
Yeah.
Death Hive USA. I'm like, damn, after I just finished all of that, that's pretty great. Like that's a great teaser.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Get me hooked for next month, you know?
It's a definite cliffhanger. It's he does cliffhangers a lot in a lot of his comics, right? But for
Hmm.
me, this is one of the best. Like, this is one where I need to know what happens, and
And
I'm
then
actually gonna go read it and read my comic.
and then he gives you, of course, after all the, the editorial stuff and the additional material, then you get like a full splash page of the insectons, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
the
Oh, the
cover,
back
the
cover.
origin
Yeah.
cover, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's fucking incredible. Like to me, that is just like there are some great Kirby faces there. As you fade further back into the crowd, less detail, but those first like 3 or 4 guys that are right
Uh,
in the front of that
Hmm.
crowd, Jesus.
yeah, that's
Like
definitely
They look very insecty.
right.
yeah.
Insectons, baby.
Yeah.
I
They
scanned
look
that.
like the what do you call it? The superpowers
Sector. Oh, the
Mantis.
right, right, right.
The redesign of Mantis
True.
for
Yeah.
the toy line would fit right into this.
Right.
Not the Mantis
Yeah.
from the comics, the
Yeah.
Mantis,
Right. The yellow green
the
one. Right.
redesign,
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes sense.
Or the
I scanned
parademons. That's the parademon
Yeah,
right,
and
comic
the
right.
Parademons.
similarities.
The Parademons is another example. Yeah.
I scanned that back cover in today because eventually I'm going to use it for one of our Jacked Kirby episode flyers, because I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, even like some of the new gods like Slig and the Deep
Right.
Six, like you see this same similar like
Mm-hmm.
style. The main guy that's like right in the front and he's got like the crazy horns.
Mm-hmm.
That's like he could fit right into a New Gods comic.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would assume that eventually we could even get together or do another episode where we continue
Yeah, sure.
our Captain Victory talk, because I do want to finish the series and I have to get plug in those last couple of books. Then I'll have the whole thing and I could read the whole thing and we could do further episodes. We could continue if you want to.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep.
But
I mean, I'd like to finish out the set too.
yeah,
Like I said,
once we all do it, we'll read it. Mike could stick to his bootleg shit.
Oh, I have all the issues. What are you talking to? I have them first.
Yeah.
I fucking was the one who bought all the issues first. I bought them all in one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them at a show. A similar deal in like one of those $2 comic things. But like
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it, for $20, I'm gonna kind of max out here. And I think I got like out of 13, I think I got like 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then like after that, I pieced it together. Let's talk about the fact that this guy, David Scroggy, is in charge of this whole operation. Who decided to let this fucking guy be in charge?
Why? What's wrong with him?
Come on, what kind of name is that? Like, you gotta change. If that is your real name, you gotta pick a screen name. And if that's not your fucking real name, what's your problem, Dave? Like, I don't get it. Like,
I don't know.
David
What's wrong with that name?
Scroggy?
David Scroggy?
It sounds so bizarre. Like it pops up towards the end, and like the letter from the editor, and like,
Right.
and then it's like, send me a letter. Like, no, I'm not sending you shit. You sound like a serial killer. Like, like I don't want to give you my address, Dave. Like, nah, we're good. We're good over here.
I don't know why you're maligning Dave Scroggy like that.
What a
We should find him and get him on the show.
Scroggy, that guy's definitely.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I wonder if he's still alive.
If he is, he better have changed his fucking name by now.
I mean, my understanding, this company was like it was like young people putting this company together. So
right. I think it was two
barring
brothers.
catastrophe, he shouldn't be too old.
Yeah.
I wonder if like we sent a letter to the letters page, like what would Like,
well,
yeah, who's there at that address now?
Hey, dickheads. They don't fucking live here anymore, you know?
No, there's in the beginning of the comic, in the indicia, in the beginning, there's a phone number.
Well,
that I thought like, I wonder if you call that number. Where's
it
gonna go?
There's definitely an address too. It says 4887 Ronson Court, Suite E, San Diego, California. And I wonder if that's like an A&P fucking food mart now or something, you know, like some sort of fucking
you know what,
corporate
boys?
IKEA or whatever, you know.
We're gonna call that phone number right now.
Oh, right? do it. Call it right on the air. That'd be great.
Hold on a second.
Hello.
It's only like 6:40 in California. Right
yeah,
now.
So it's not that. Hold on, 714.
Is Dave Scroggy home? That's what you gotta say. Hey, I'm looking for Scroggy, Dave Scroggy.
All right, boys. All right, here we go.
Oh God! So on the air, it's amazing.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
You have reached a number that has been disconnected. No way!
I feel like Geraldo opening Al Capone's vault.
Al Capone's vault. I remember sitting up that night being like, "Oh man, they got one here," you know? Like, what the fuck were they gonna find?
What were they gonna find? A skull, right? Like, right?
Yeah,
you know. Anyway.
Oh my God, they got Johnny Pertici's fucking cheeks in there. Like, that's
Why
crazy.
was it full of water too? Do you remember? It was like
all of his taxes. That's what they're gonna find.
Right,
tax forms he hid.
Imagine it was like a prank, like
half filled out.
Yeah, it was like a prank. Like his accountant never really did it, like to set him up.
Right.
Like it was like, I never filed them. I know you gave me all the paperwork, Al, but I never filed them.
That's what you get for fucking my wife.
Yeah.
Plus, she had syphilis, so there you go. Double whammy for you.
That was
Al.
my brother you hit with that bat, you prick, you know.
But anyway, so yeah, Captain Victory. I enjoy this book. I think the artwork is amazing. I love the beginning of the story. We'll see if I like where the story goes. I don't know. But for a first issue, strong start, I think. And again, this is not a guy whose talents are diminished. The imagination is there, the creativity, the his love of science is there. This crazy concepts with the cloning and with this guy who can see things sonically. Like I think it's fucking cool. I want to know what Lady Lightning's story is. I want to know why her brood of insectons need to find a home. What happened to their home? You know, like you said, Daryl, you felt bad for them. So, like, what's their story? Like, why do they not have a place to live? You know?
Yeah.
It's all very, very, very fascinating stuff that I hope will be answered within the next 13 issues. You know.
I will say too, on the cover, he's holding these massive guns.
Yeah.
And when I posted this book a couple weeks ago, somebody commented that his guns give Rob Liefeld and Cable's guns.
I thought the same.
Give them the run for their money. And I was like, yeah, he does. That was a pretty massive
I could imagine that these guns must have some kind of gravitational science within them to be able to be held up like that.
Yeah, because he's holding them like pistols. He doesn't
have
like a shoulder stock to him or anything.
So I would assume that they float somehow, because that would be the only reason.
If you look at the cover, there's a guy who has a similar sized gun inside a spaceship.
Yeah,
you know, like he's shooting it out of a ship.
Right, but that looks like a canopy gun that you like.
Yeah, but that's
in the
what
Millennium Falcon or something, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like it's the same gun,
right?
But he's got it like inside a ship, so it's kind of like I could definitely see Liefeld saying, "See, I could draw anything, you know, pouches for everybody."
That's Clavis right there.
And this guy's got no fucking feet. On the first page, just saying, there's not a foot to be found. This is it. This is probably the thing that he saw, and he was like, "I want to be a comic artist."
There's no pouches, so
yeah, no pouch. I do like I like the design of his costume. It's like simplistic,
right? I do. I like that too. The subtle V on the the chest.
Yeah.
I just don't like the haircut. The haircut is awful.
The haircut. I don't know.
It's worse. Gets worse
Yeah.
once the book actually starts. The cover
I feel
is
like
the
it's
best
not
it
as
looks.
I was like, it's not as bad on the cover, but then you open that first page and it's
Right.
like He-Man in a way
Right,
or something.
Way worse than He-Man.
I
It's
think
like
it's worse than
He-Man.
He-Man. Right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like He-Man, but even fucking more terrible.
It is a haircut that Kirby has visited in several characters, and I don't get why. Because at no time in Kirby's life was that haircut in
His.
style
Yeah.
At
for a
no
man.
time in anybody's life was that fucking thing in
Right.
style. Yeah, you could go back to 2001.
Arthurian legend,
Cavemen,
maybe,
you know,
like
yeah.
maybe King Arthur times, maybe.
No, even back then they'd be like, "Ha, Sir Doofus with the haircut. I see you." You know, he would even be known as the jerk off of the crew. You know what
Dance
I mean?
for us, dance.
Oh, I did not know the jester was in attendance this evening.
Anyway, that's Captain Victory, boys. Closing thoughts.
I'm
love
with you.
it.
I want to keep going, so just got to find him.
I love it, and I've reposted. I've posted this series a ton throughout the existence of the page. You can just pull one panel from this book and get people talking. If you post it and don't give much context, it'll cause a tremor. Like every single time I post stuff from Captain Victory, we get tons of comments and we get tons of interaction. So let the work speak for itself.
Yeah. You say it's like an underrated gem of the Kirby.
Yeah, because I like
Kirby
I like Silver Star. I do. I like it. I think there's some cool artwork in there, similar to this Captain Victory stuff, right? And it's kind of being done adjacent to the Captain Victory stuff. It's subpar compared to Captain Victory in terms of storyline, in terms of originality, in terms of overall cool concepts and execution. It's subpar. Something's got to be one, something's got to be two. It's definitely two, and it's not even a question.
All right. Once again, I got to thank Tommy and Mike for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun. I hope to come back when I get an issue number 2 that we can discuss it eventually too. I hope everybody that watched this enjoyed this different kind of format. Since it was a podcast, we were just kind of freewheeling conversation all over the map instead of just like the video content that I usually do going through page by page. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely go check out the Jacked Kirby podcast. Listen to the whole episode. It was so much fun to be on it. And they have other great guests. They've had Jeff Smith on there, Steve Rude, Jason Aaron. They get professionals on. So for them to have me on there, I felt very honored. That's all I got for this one. Until next time, read your comics.